Hey, hey, hello, and welcome. Hey, hey. I just want to make sure that everything is working because it's been so long. Okay, fucking. My chat thing is freaking the fuck out. Restart, see if work, please. I guess it can freak out then. Maybe. Let's see if I can fix this. Oh. Oh. So, are you happy now? Maybe it's happy now. Okay. Seems good enough. Well, back to streaming. Let's go. Even if it's just my brother. Who cares? Watch the VOD, please. Hell yes. We have added Willow emotes. Indeed, they're bangers. Okay, this one can stay here. Yeah. I think all is good. I just have to make this window a bit smaller. Oh. And the chat is fine for me now. It's not freaking out anymore. Very good, very good. Everything is paused. The thing is here. That is there. So. Welcome back to stream. We will read as normal. Hopefully. As long as a certain dog doesn't need my full attention. She's had a bad night. She's been throwing up for the first time before I went to sleep. And I'm like, well, okay. So all night she's been like, I'm like, no. But she only threw up once. Otherwise, it's only been like stomach acid. So I'm like, yeah, I understand. So for anyone German, I gave her a Zwieback this morning, which she enjoyed crunching on. Good for the stomach. So hopefully she will do better today. I hope. So in case of emergency, I have to run. And she didn't do everything outside either because of empty stomach. So who knows? But it should be fine. She better be fine. So hopefully she'll make it for ish 2 hours. Eeping. Otherwise, it will be shorter chapters today. But hopefully not. So let's start with switching the screens where we have a Willow cam. We have a Willow cam. She's eeping. I know it's not the best light in the world, but she's there. She is at least there, eeping. It's also pretty dark outside, but my light is pretty bright, so... Hello, someone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Dylan. Welcome back. We do be back. I'm tired because I've been up all night. Orange blob. Thank you. Thank you so much for the prime, Dylan. I appreciate it. Now you can use the Willow emotes. Yay! It's been a while since I've been an orange blob as well. Happy to be back being blob. Hell yeah. In case anyone has missed it, living under a rock, I've got a puppy. Super. She's an Alaskan Klekai. She's 3.5 months, almost 4 months. So she's a tiny little baby. And she will be joining on stream whenever she decides to lay on her little pillow. So she's visible. She will probably leave. But this is where she usually is when I'm on the PC. So let's see how long she actually stays. Gives good entertainment. But okay, as stated, might have to leave whenever she needs to. So let's just start and go so that we make every chapter that we have to do. And I will also try to remember how I do this, as always. But actually, this time I was smart because I was like, I'm gonna be gone for a fucking while. So last time I actually wrote down the recap beforehand. So I actually remember what happened. Ish. I wrote it down at least. So there will be a recap. Fuck yes. Okay. Script ready. Last time on A Soldier's Life, the legionnaire we found was Colm. He says that his group found Brutus and the Scholar. Bad news is that the group of 3 only has, maybe, 1 alive, and the summoner has entered the dungeon. Colm returns to his group and Eric kills the Drake and reports back to Maviath and Relia. They also find an extra room which takes them out of the dungeon to a place called the Endless Dark. They immediately run back to the safety of the dungeon, which seals the exit away from them upon returning. Relia goes back into Eric's space and he makes sure that if he dies, Relia will receive the Griffin Egg. Very cute of him. Maybe that Eric decides to search for Castile's group instead of reuniting with Colm's. On their way, Eric creates a new affinity to illusion and shits himself. Good to be back. So now we will see what he actually got. In Chapter 70, Staying Grounded. I was looking forward to seeing my progress. I felt healthy and fully recovered after a week of full meals, and the ring of sustenance had slowly increased its effectiveness. I had not been training in my spare time, but I still felt like most of my strength and clarity of thought had returned. I was not expecting too many gains, as the period since my last reading was minimal. I was mostly focused on my illusion affinity. How much had it increased from just a single major essence? I reviewed the left side of the tablet first, moving my food prep items out of the way to read the results. Okay, but let's see here. Where do we even find the illusion affinity? Affinities. I don't know. Well, we have some ups, nothing downs. Reasoning +4, strength +4, quickness, endurance, constitution +3, channeling. Wait, channeling +6 and +1 max. Okay, that's the big. And ether tolerance also max improvement. Okay, cool. My physical attributes had normalized to their relative levels before we were chased into the elven ruins and nearly starved inside the library. My mental attributes showed modest gains from a few essences. The magic attributes showed the most impressive gains, with channeling increasing by 6 points and ether tolerance by 3. I assumed this was due to the ley line being so close to the dungeon and the faster rate at which I could recover my ether. With my channeling increased, it meant I would see gains outside the dungeon as well, if I ever got outside of the dungeon. Well, they have been outside of the dungeon, but they went back in. 2 glaring weaknesses stood out: my ether pool and my ability to shape ether. So far in this dungeon, I had not discovered any essences for either magic attribute. There wasn't much I could do about my poor luck, but I had enough essences to last me weeks. I moved everything to the other side of the table to read my magical affinities. The only change was with my illusion affinity. Well, then we're not gonna fucking read this. Blah 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 blah. Illusion 3. Now he has illusion 3. Good job. I had unlocked 3 points in the illusion affinity, raising it from 0 to 3 with a single major essence. It was not even remotely enough to gain a new spell form, and it was half as effective as the Apex Earth essence had been in awakening the affinity. Still, the awakening of the illusion affinity had been just as painful and unpleasant. I still smelled like dried vomit, even though I had left the soiled clothes behind. Sighing, I started to work on dinner, shaving bear meat with Maviet's new skinning knife. I could only take 1 essence a day without risking being overwhelmed. I had told Maviet and Relia to do the same, but Castile had told me during my first dungeon delve that you only needed to wait an hour between consuming similar essences, though each successive one would be unpleasant as the body needed time to recover. Could I raise one of my magic affinities high enough to imprint a new spell form? If yes, should I pursue illusion or earth essence? Illusion? Hello? I had 2 apex and 1 major essence of illusion remaining. For earth essences, I had 2 apex, 6 major, and 1 minor essence. There was also the possibility of getting more earth essences from the sand scarabs. I had books in my dimensional space with spell forms for both affinities. The meat started sizzling. I cooked it in small batches and sampled each one. The cooking was more for Maviet, since I had the ring of sustenance. Maviet rolled over at the smell, facing me. Sleepily, he asked, "Did it work?" "Did what work?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "You took out the tablet table, Eric. I know you do not want me to see your readings, but it is obvious you wanted to see if the suffering you went through was worth it." I had to remember that maybe it was not dumb and that I was being very transparent. I admitted calmly, "Yes, I awakened my affinity, my illusion affinity. Do you want to try to awaken one of your affinities?" Why do I have a feeling that I've already read this? Have I read this? I have read this, right? Wait. No. No, kill me. Kill me, no. It's been so long. I have already read this. Because he said the food was for Relia. I was like, bitch, Relia isn't here. Yeah. Because I was like, this is where he shits himself. Oh no. Well, fun. At least I realized. Oh no. And Willow left. Understandably so. She came back. Good dog. Fuck. Right, this is. Yeah, we read this. Fuck me. Well, Okay, I guess we start now. Now we can start. Oh my god. Fuck. Chapter 171. Surprise webbing. We had 3 unexplored corridors from the safe room, but we were following the note left by Castile. The corridor was unremarkable, just like the other dungeon levels. It was a short walk before we reached a room with large, elaborate webs crisscrossing the ceiling. The floor was stone with small patches of emerald grass that danced in the light from above. Large, bulbous, man-sized white sacks dotted the webs. I was in disbelief. Could those cocoons contain the remains of Castile and her group? Oh no. My common sense told me there was no way they would have fallen to spiders. I tensed up, realizing for the first time that maybe the Kettle of Souls was gone, and we had no way out of the city before being overwhelmed by the specters. Castile could already be dead. I shook off the negative thoughts and scanned the room, looking for movement. My heart rate was elevated as I tried to figure out what we were dealing with. The webbing indicated spiders, and I was not a fan of spiders. Maybe, do you see anything? The floor is coated in webbing. Fighting with our boots sticking to the floor will be difficult. I glanced at the floor, and I completely missed it. Constantine would have berated me for not accounting for everything in the environment. The silvery green web strands were camouflaged, blending into the floor. As I studied the floor, maybe it speculated. I count 4 cocoons. Maybe the spiders are in there. You don't think those are people? Castile's group? I wondered aloud, returning my focus to the ceiling. Maybe it seemed to consider. No, too small. They were smaller than Legionnaire armor, only about half the length of a person. I nodded at his assessment after studying the sacks for a while. The cocoons were 40 feet in the air, near the ceiling, and the flowing lights around them created the illusion that they were bigger than they looked. Are we going to enter? Maviad asked, eager for action, or maybe he wanted to reunite with the others. I considered our options. Go ahead, take a few small steps in, then step back out if anything stirs. I'll watch from the corridor. Maviad did not mind being used as bait and did not hesitate. He stepped into the room, taking small steps to draw out the enemy. His 4th step, just 5 feet from me, had a sticky tearing sound. The cocoons vibrated above him on their suspended cables. He tried to step back but struggled as his boots resisted the sticky strands now attached to them. 4 glossy black spiders emerged from the cocoons and immediately shot threads of webbing at Maviad. The thin spider silk did not look dangerous or capable of restraining the Goliath. Maviad had made it back to within a step of the corridor. His boots had dozens of sticky strands attached to them, making walking difficult. He twirled his hammer to intercept the incoming threads. The strands quickly wrapped around the hammer's head, forming a mini cocoon, reminding me of cotton candy at the carnival. Don't eat it, Maviad. Then, all of a sudden, Maviad grunted unhappily. They are trying to steal my hammer, Eric. As Maviad pulled on the handle, the entire webbing network on the ceiling flexed, and the cocoons and spiders bobbed from his effort to keep his hammer. I stepped into the room and cut the lines attached to the hammer. My black blade severed the spider strands with ease. Oh. Back into the corridor, I ordered, and we both retreated. I freed his boots from the strands dragging behind him. The 4 spiders repelled down to the floor, their glossy black chitinous legs tapping the ground, sounding irritated at our escape. The spiders did not approach us, but seemed very agitated by our presence. Why do you think they're not attacking us? I asked Maviad. Maviad's boots still made a sticky adhesive sound as he walked. He was also having trouble peeling the spider cocoon off the head of his hammer. I do not know. Maybe they only have ranged attacks. They do look fragile, he noted with some contempt. Maviad's observation was astute. The spiders were not large and looked fragile, with spindly legs and oversized abdomens. Their heads were small and their fangs were barely noticeable. It seemed these spiders incapacitated their prey before moving in for the kill. There were only 4 spiders. I wanted to find Castile, so we needed to conquer this room. Maviad, can you get 2 if we rush them? The 2 on the right. Hello, Tack. It is indeed. a stream. Welcome, welcome. We haven't gotten far since I read the wrong chapter. So we kind of just started. It was very tumultuous, but I got a dog out of it, so... But that was before the holidays, to be fair. But it was good. We had a good time. And she did very well during New Year's. So that was very nice. Very happy about that, since the Germans do go fucking crazy. Dog cam. We have a Willow cam. Yes, we do. We have Willow cam. She usually sleeps under my desk. So I'm like, why not? Thank you. I have sock. With the occasional sock appearance as well. But yeah. And it's easy for me to keep track of her this way. Sometimes I don't notice if she leaves. Okay. Mavid's response was an uncharacteristic roar as he charged into the room. I guess the spiders had angered him by trying to take his hammer, and it was time for payback. Don't mess with the Goliath's hammer, I guess. I rushed in behind him, casting an air shield just above the ground as I did so. Mavid's hammer slammed into the first spider. 2 spiders shot a spray of dense webbing at me. My air shield intercepted the attack, the spider silk pooling on the shield in a white mass. The spiders did not understand what was happening and moved closer to me. My black blade lashed out around the air shield, stabbing deep into one spider. The second spider tried to flee. I lunged awkwardly as my feet stuck to the floor, and only caught 3 legs. It was crippled, oozing blue blood, and it struggled to get away. I looked over at Maviet, who was struggling to move his feet. The second spider had retreated toward the ceiling and was spewing webbing at him. The Goliath was angry but slowed as the strands began to layer him, restricting his movement. Maviet, use your skinning knife. Don't get captured. Don't get captured. Thanks. I moved to pursue the crippled spider, stepping on an air shield to allow me to move without hindrance. The spider was slowed from blood loss, and it offered no resistance when I ended its life with my blade. Maviet had freed himself in the meantime. This had been a difficult room, and we had underestimated the threat of the spiders. I got within range of the last suspended spider. So far I feel like it's going very well, though. It thought it was safe a dozen feet above us, but I used my dimensional space to cut the strands it hung from. For a split second, I thought I saw a surprise register on its monstrous face as it fell a dozen feet to the ground, and I quickly dispatched it with my sword as it landed. The dead spider leaked blue blood, its spinneret slowly releasing more thread. The stone reward chest appeared, signaling we had cleared the room. Thanks to my air shields, it was not a challenge for me to traverse the sticky floor. Maybe its small runic knife was the best tool to cut away the strands that were slowing him down. My non-runic knife quickly got gummed up, its edge becoming useless unless cleaned repeatedly. My black blade worked as well, but it was awkward. I met Maviet at the chest, which yielded only a few silver coins and a single potion. What type of potion, though? I turned the potion to read the script. It says hover, Maviet, or maybe levitate? I can confirm it in the dreamscape. I'm going to use the collector. Is there anything else harvestable? Maybe the spinnerets? Maybe. I can try. Maviet took his skinning knife and moved to try his best to harvest a spider. I remember Delmar being skilled at extracting them intact. Maviet struggled to walk across the sticky floor to each spider. The collector worked on each spider, giving a minor essence of coordination. While Maviet worked, I tried to figure out what the spiders ate. The floor was stone with tufts of emerald grass scattered across it. I kneeled to study the grass. It reflected the light, giving it a shimmering appearance. I tried to pick one and immediately regretted it. The grass was flexible but sharp like a knife. A long cut formed on my palm, bleeding freely. Shit, that hurts, I hissed. Maybe it looked up on alert. Is there a problem? The grass is sharp and tough. Maybe it's fuel for the spiders to make their webbing. It was a wild guess, but it made sense in this dungeon ecosystem. I stomped over to Maviet, who successfully collected 2 spinnerets. His first attempt had failed as he cut it with a knife, rupturing the sack, and the spider he'd smashed with his hammer had a split sack. I added the 2 sacks to my storage. 2 sacks. Here you go, Relia. We moved across the sticky floor to the only other exit from the room. Once we reached the corridor, we used Maviet's runic skinning knife to cut the webbing from various parts of her clothing and boots. My legs and most of Maviet's body had remnants of the spider silk. I decided we could clean it later in a safe room. This corridor was much longer and curved to the right, making it difficult to see more than 50 feet ahead. Eventually, it opened into a massive room that looked like an entire forest had been transplanted into the dungeon. The ceiling seemed even brighter, giving the trees something to reach for as they extended high above us, creating a green canopy. Remembering the phase spiders, I was hesitant to enter. I cannot see any other exits, Maviet's voice said over me. This forest made it difficult to see anything. The sound of an axe on wood suddenly echoed from deep within the woods. Huh. Maviet and I looked at each other. A second axe sounded in response. A terrible rhythm echoed as the 2 axes competed in different tempos. I was hopeful that those axes could belong to legionnaires. Maviet was also craning his neck, trying to see past the tree trunks. A familiar voice rang out over the shoppings. Stay away from the knots. It will be too hard to split with our hand axes. That sounded like Firth, Maviet said excitedly. So he was Legion. Okay. I nodded and listened for a while to confirm, but only heard axe strikes. Let's go, Maviet. Be ready to retreat if necessary. We moved into the chamber, moving silently toward the other side. The sound of grunts and the thudding of axes grew louder. In a small clearing, I saw bloody Constantine harvesting a massive black bear while Firth, Willie, and Matteo cut branches. Constantine. Oh, I did not see anyone else, but Constantine was a part of Castile's group. Firth, Willie, and Matteo had been with Felix. I signaled Maviet to stay while I approached the group. Why? Maybe I could surprise Constantine. Dude. My armor rasped as I moved, but the echo of the axe strikes covered the noise. Constantine suddenly whistled, and everyone froze, including me. I was maybe 20 feet from Constantine, with his back turned. Firth asked, "What is it? You think that annoying goblin is back?" Oh my god. Constantine slowly turned around, and I hid myself. "I thought I heard something," he said, "and there is something foul in the air, yet there is no wind." The men suddenly dropped their axes, and I heard swords being drawn. So much for surprising them. "Well, if you think I smell foul, then I'll just leave," I said, stepping out from cover. Matteo grinned widely. "Is that a virgin dragon?" Or Eric. I hear they're both pretty rare in dungeons. His eyes slowly widened. What in Pluto's realm happened to your armor? My armor did look terrible. It was warped, charred, and recently covered in spider webbing. Constantine was cautious, still holding his bloody skinning knife in one hand and his runic weapon in the other. Firth nodded, like my appearance was just natural. Willie started to smile, matching Matteo. Constantine asked, "Where are the others you were in charge of?" "Maybe if," I called the Goliath forward. Brutus and the scholar got separated when we entered. We've been wandering for days. Maybe it came through the trees, and everyone relaxed, but happy faces abounded. "Wandering, eh?" the always skeptical Constantine noted. I ignored his suspicion. "Are Castile and the others nearby?" Firth answered, "Adrian, Blaze, and Castile are in the safe room. We're gathering wood for cooking and harvesting the shadow bear." "What about Felix?" I inquired. Smiles faded, and Matteo responded, "He did not make it. The first room we tried. The first room. I'm sorry. Oh no." He trailed off, not finishing the sentence. Felix and Matteo were good friends, and they had been my roommates when I joined the company in Formica. I fucking forgot that was the place. I felt the pain of loss, a knot forming in my stomach. Constantine started pressing me for information, and I reported what I knew. We saw Brutus, Colm, Dante, Linus, Flavius, and the scholar. We couldn't reach them because they were on the other side of a massive earth drake. They said Cyrus, Remus, and Soren were killed by the summoner outside the dungeon entrance. They think the summoner is now wandering the dungeon with us. "That would explain the goblin," Firth said. "He must be one of his scouts." I did not correct him and gave Mavis a look to keep quiet about the goblin's origins. My news could have been met better. My news could have been met better. Hello? Constantine processed what I said, looking unhappy. He looked at everything that had been harvested so far. We need to inform Castile. Let's focus on wood. We can always return to kill the bear again, but we need the wood to cook it. Matteo whined nervously. I don't want to fight the shadow bear again. Willie patted him on the back. At least there was a healing potion for you after the fight. Was it a hard fight? Maviet asked, interested. Constantine said dismissively. It can move between shadows, and Castile's shadow chains had no effect on it. This is our second time killing the beast. Matteo just made the mistake of having his back to a shadow. Matteo winced at the memory. Firth appraised us. The meat tastes a little smoky, but it's edible. He was inspecting our small packs, probably thinking we did not have much food. Maviet, help Constantine with the bear. Show him your new runic knife, I said, smirking, knowing Constantine would be jealous even if he did not show it. We should definitely take everything we can. As we started working together, Matteo approached and gave me a hug. Oh, just wanted to make sure you're real and not a figment of my imagination. I am sure you have a story about why you look like a fiery dragon swallowed you and then shit you out. It was odd talking with everyone after so long. Constantine kept eyeing me suspiciously, trying to figure out how Maviet and I had survived for so long. Even on the first level of the dungeon, the rooms were dangerous. Once we were finally loaded with wood and bear meat, we started off toward the safe room, where I would reunite with Castile and the others. I feel like we already reunited with people though, because we did, so I'm like, you know. I guess Castile, I'm like, you know, Castile, I guess. Chapter 172. Safety and numbers. Yeah, there are pretty many now. Imagine everyone going into the room at once, and it's just pow, 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 easy peasy. I was anticipating a grand reunion with the company. Maviet would let me do all the talking to explain our time in the dungeon so far. Matteo entered the safe room first and flamboyantly announced, We found some wandering creatures in the dungeon. They smell like an ogre's ass, but they're good people. This drew Castile's attention. Ogre's ass. And Adrian and Blaze looked up. Blaze had a massive grin on seeing us, and Castile smirked happily, though she did not quite allow herself to smile. Adrian looked pleased at seeing us alive, nodding to us and smiling. I challenged Matteo's statement. I think it was us who found you, and the only one in the company who has ever smelled like an ogre's ass is you. There was a chorus of laughter, and the truth of my statement since Matteo had literally wiped an ogre's ass outside of Matcha. Oh yes, I remember. Thank you for reminding me. A brief debate erupted on who had discovered whom, since Constantine had smelled me before I announced myself. Adrian spoke seriously once the levity died down. He asked me pointedly, Brutus and the scholar didn't make it. They live. We got separated when we entered the dungeon, I said, pointing to Maviet. Maviet was struck by Spectre and lost contact with the scholar. We appeared in the lower levels of the dungeon. Castile looked confused. Adrian, who detested dungeons, growled. Lower levels? That isn't normal. Then again, nothing about this dungeon is normal. I've never heard of any dungeon this large before, or with such a variety of beasts. Constantine interrupted the reunion to get me to report to Castile. Tell them about the summoner and the others. I faced Castile, who was clearly happy we had rejoined them. We saw Flavius, Colm, Linus, Dante, Brutus, and the scholar. We could not reunite with them because an earth drake was in the room between us. Maybe it leaned in, trying to help. It was a really big earth drake, over 60 feet from snout to tail tip. I confirmed. Yes, it was huge, but I think they're just a few rooms back. Brutus told us that he and the scholar exited the dungeon, hoping to re-enter near another group. My voice heavier, I continued. They found the bodies of Remus, Cyrus, and Soren, torn apart before they re-entered. Castile frowned at the news, and looked like she had been slapped with the sting of more death. I added worryingly, the scholar noticed bloody footprints leading back into the dungeon. He thinks an elf made them. Silence hung in the room before Constantine voiced what he was thinking. If the summoner is in the dungeon, he might be using goblins to disrupt rooms. Unable to hold my curiosity any longer, I asked, You saw a goblin? Twice. but maybe the same both times. It appeared while we were fighting in rooms. The first time, angry spiders were chasing it, and the second time, it was a winter wolf. Constantine spoke, clearly frustrated. We were occupied both times, and the goblin managed to get away. It appeared that the little goblin got around. I immediately took a liking to it, if it could cause Constantine such anxiety. I liked the goblin as well. Blaze asked me hopefully, did you see any signs of the other group? Lucian, Pavel, Lurkin, and Benito. Is that the only one that's left now? Pavel and Blaze were both company archers and often worked together. I did not have any good news for him. Looking him in the eye, I noticed Blaze's quiver only had 2 arrows. No, but I'm sure we'll find them, I reassured him. There is a lot of dungeon to explore. Constantine grunted at the truth of my statement. As the mood turned a little somber, Castile announced to everyone, prepare a good meal for the return of our lost companions. She motioned for me to join her and Adrian. I paused momentarily to place a large number of purple vitelot potatoes, on the stone, smiling as I said, my contribution to the meal. From what I saw, it looked like they had been living off meat and nuts. The potatoes got greedy stares from everyone as they were added to Ferd's preparation. Castile now had a genuine smile as she stepped into the corridor, directed at me. I'm happy you survived, Eric. How many rooms did you clear? And tell me about the ring. The shiny ring of sustenance was a bit flashy and easy to spot. I held it up, considering. We found it in a room. I think it allows me to get by with less food and sleep. Adrian arched an eyebrow, surprised. That sounds useful. And the Goliath ring? I should have realized that the artifacts were extremely noticeable. I would have to start wearing gloves regularly, or it would be an advertisement that I was wearing runic rings, since they never tarnished. He is less affected by cold wearing it, I stated simply. Castile nodded in understanding. They are probably a ring of sustenance and a ring of warmth. Both are rare dungeon finds. We have had our share of luck in the dungeon as well. She informed Adrian before focusing on me again. And how many rooms have you explored? Our focus was on trying to find the others. When we learned we were in the dungeon's lower levels, we tried to find stairs going up. Our biggest challenge was getting around the drake at the top of the stairs, I said. I did not want to lie to either Adrian or Castile, but it looked like I had no other choice. I was probably showing a little discomfort, feeling cornered for the truth. Castile seemed to notice and rescued me. How did you find us? Did you come across one of the messages we left behind? Yes, a few rooms back. We found the safe room that led to the spider's cocoon room. At first, I thought the cocoons were victims of the spiders. Adrian scoffed at the thought their group would fall to spiders. Still, those spiders nearly trapped Mavieth and me, I admitted. Weavers. They're called weavers, Eric. Castile looked at Adrian. We had 7 to handle the room, and I was able to restrain 3 of the weavers. With just the 2 of you, it is remarkable that you made it through. And I was like, oh, that wasn't so hard. It's just because it went so fast. It's not like the fucking blizzard lizard. That was hard. Their silk sacks are extremely valuable in the market, making an incredible thread for durable garments. They were mentioned in the scholars' books. Do you know how to reach Flavius and the others? Adrian pressed. Yes, I think they were in the direction of the sand room, I said, acting like I was thinking. I was obviously unconvincing as Castile's eyes narrowed. Castile moved in a little closer between Adrian and me. The sand scarabs are dangerous. We could not get them to surface to fight. I felt uncomfortable under her assessing gaze. Do you remember who I told you that you could trust, Eric? My mind skipped back to the conversation. It felt like a lifetime ago. Felix, Adrian, Matteo, and Blaise, I recalled softly. Castile nodded. Adrian looked a little shocked that I knew of their shared conspiracy to leave the Empire. Felix is dead, Eric. That leaves Adrian. Castile nodded in his direction to confirm her trust. Matteo and Blaise. I could tell she wanted me to be honest with her. I was still having trouble sharing. Even Mavieth only knew half of my secrets. I relented. We killed the scarabs. After killing the first 2, the others rushed us into the corridor, leaving the sand. Beyond the scarab room, there's a room with 2 harpies. The others should be just beyond that room in a safe room. That's what they told us anyway. Admitting that I could have joined the others had Adrian eyeing me suspiciously. Good, Castile said, relaxing now that she had the information she wanted. Adrian was not as content. How did you kill the scarabs under the sand, and the harpies for that matter? He did not have a chance to ask why I had not joined the others. Castile gave Adrian a cold look. We can discuss this another time. Adrian, we will reconnect with the others after the Shadow Bear returns. Prepare the men with the good news. As Adrian left, I peeked into the room to see a number of people talking with Maviet. Could Maviet keep my secrets under the scrutiny of the others? Constantine in particular. Castile interrupted my concern and asked me softly again. How many rooms did you clear? I tore my eyes from Constantine and Maviet talking animatedly. It was hard to focus, but I thought about it. 12 different rooms, maybe. Wow. It is a lot. We have been through many rooms. I was not counting the number of times we cleared rooms more than once. 12. Castile looked more than a little shocked. We conquered 7 rooms on the first floor and found 6 safe rooms. She seemed to be considering me again in a different light, either as a threat or an ally. Is the summoner a threat? Can he summon creatures inside the dungeon? I focused her thoughts on the other danger. Castile looked me in the eyes for a long time before speaking. I do not know. If he can summon creatures in the dungeon, he has access to more ether, being so close to the ley line, she sighed. If he is in here, hopefully, he is struggling as much as we are. You seem to be doing well, I stated, realizing my mistake. We had lost 2 men in the city, 4 men in the dungeon, and 4 were unaccounted for, I added quickly. I mean, we are surviving well here. This dungeon could also be a major source of food for Sobral. Castile looked ill. No, we are not surviving in here, Eric. We got lucky that the Shadow Bear dropped a healing potion each time we killed it. Firth nearly lost its arm a few days ago, and Matteo got mauled by the Shadow Bear yesterday. Either could have died. Although the essences boost morale. We put our lives on the line every other day just to eat. I guess they had not been as fortunate as us with as many varieties of food in the rooms as we had. But then again, we visited twice as many rooms, and they had 7 people to feed. Did you know all the bears drop healing potions? At least that has been our experience, I said. Not all the time. You must have gotten lucky. We have killed 6 bears and received 4 healing potions, Castile said heavily. I guessed that maybe the dungeon was pulling back on rewards because Castile's group had 9 people. This dungeon was definitely aware of us. If the summoner is in the dungeon, are we going to flee? He would not be outside to stop us, I asked. Castile's eyes betrayed her as she was thinking the same thing. There were 4 men of the company we would potentially be abandoning if we left and tried to outrun the summoner. If he is in the dungeon, I assume he's checking the exit periodically for tracks. We could get lucky and get a head start or ambush him when he exits. It will also depend on how many specters are waiting for us near the entrance. Castile added, Adrian and I have discussed our chances of making it through the city to safety. If we try and have to retreat back into the dungeon, we will all be separated again. I nodded, as these were a number of things I had not yet considered. I would also like to confirm the fate of Benito, Pavel, Lucian, and Lurkin. The burden of leadership was in her tone and on her face. I nodded in understanding. Just let me know what you need of me. Castile smirked. Oh, you can be sure of that. As long as it's not my amulet or my rings or any of my stuff. We moved to join the others, and Matteo was complaining jokingly about the food. We really need to find Lurkin. This dungeon fare needs a professional cook to make it taste edible. Firth elbowed him, as he had cooked this particular meal. I was handed a bowl of purple mashed potatoes with charred bear meat chunks. On the side were some bitter, round, tasted nuts. I ate without complaint while listening to the conversations. So, Eric, how did you get your armor melted? Willie asked. I chewed some nuts while I spoke. We encountered a female demon with pointy ears. She threw a fireball at me, and I failed to dodge. I shrugged like it was not a big deal. Everyone went silent, and I pulled out an apple and started munching on it to cleanse my palate. I do not know if they were more shocked at the apple or my fabrication about a demon. I tossed an apple to each of them in turn. I was careful not to reveal too much from my dimensional space, but it felt like the group needed a little boost in morale. I'll never ask you to use your amulet again if you have a second apple for me, Matteo pleaded after eating his, core and all. I tossed him a second apple. I could see Castile reassessing me. The mood was jovial as we cleaned and prepared to sleep. Soon everyone made to get some rest. The stone shelves and floor were packed with the 9 of us. I was surprised Castile had not requested the Dreamscape amulet. I had been expecting it. Instead, I utilized it for sword practice. The amulet worked with the ring, so I only needed 3 hours of sleep for a complete rest. I was up quickly, even before Constantine. Get fucked! Firth raised his head as I moved, but went back to sleep. Seeing it was just me, I nodded to Blaze to get some sleep. Constantine was supposed to relieve him, but he eagerly took the extra sleep and found a cozy spot on the floor. 9 of us, soon to be 15. With so many, the dungeon rooms should not be as challenging. I hope so. Hello, Final Smile. Had to go to sleep, but I wanted to say hi. I'll be sure to watch the VOD. Welcome back. Small. Thank you. I'm happy to be back. Even if this feels like a trial, because dog is the first time, I'm scared. And it's going well so far. Enjoy the VOD, or I fuck up. Chapter 173. Triangle of Trust. I watched everyone sleep, snore, and emit various flatulations. In a way, I felt at home. I felt much safer being with the company and sharing the danger, not so much the smell. I secretly popped an Apex Earth essence, and it roiled my stomach for a bit. I leaned against the wall, squatting as my body consumed the essence, and sweated through the assimilation. I needed to give myself more time between consuming affinity essences. I was finding that the magic affinity essences needed longer to acclimate than physical or mental ones. After about 10 minutes, I was able to stand. Castile stirred as my armor scraped against the wall. She was the quietest among us, since she did not wear the hardened Legion armor. She surveyed the room and moved close to speak with me. She asked me a question for which I was unprepared. Do you think we should exit the dungeon and run after connecting with Flavius? Flavius. She was essentially asking if we should abandon hope of finding Benito, Lurkin, Lucian, and Pavel. Lucian had patiently taught me to ride and everything anyone could ever want to know about horses. I had helped Lurkin cook and had eaten the food he had prepared for months. Benito was like my clueless younger brother. I considered Pavel a friend as well. I locked eyes with Castile. Is this a test? Castile looked impassive. If you were in charge, what would you do? She pressed. So, yes to the test question. I realized I did not want to leave them. We could always come back for them. I hedged, thinking we could escape and return with support. Unlikely. As soon as we reach a Legion Hall, we will be called to the capital to report and account for our extended absence. Most likely, when we leave the dungeon, I will have us rush to Parvis, and then I expect we will be ordered to portal to Tella to report to the Legatus Legionis. Castile explained. We will not be allowed to return to Sorrel City. Damn. My first thought was of poor Ginger. She was going to wonder why I never returned. Castile interrupted my thoughts. So you would leave without knowing their fate? I understood that Castile was soliciting advice for her own imminent decision. My mind raced for an answer. If I were in command, I would map the entire first level of the dungeon looking for them. That way, I would feel I put in an effort to find them, and my conscience would be clear. Castile looked much older as her stern expression relaxed. There are 99 safe rooms on the first level of the Shimmering Labyrinth. Holy! We learned that much from the elven scrawl on the walls in the safe rooms. That is, as long as the dungeon has not grown in the last 1500 years. The elven writing also indicated there are 7 different descents to access the second level of the dungeon. We found one of those stairs but did not descend. We do not even know if there are levels below the second. If you arrived on the second level, they could have done so too. Hello Shane, welcome! Congratulations on getting first! I want to be a little bit quiet because I don't want to stir Puppy. But hello, welcome! Good to be back again. I have been good. It's been a lot though, because of Puppy. Never had a puppy before, and she takes up the majority of my time. So it's been hard. It's been fun. It's been amazing. It's been horrible. It's been a lot, but it's all in all good. Happy. I'm the most happy when she's calm and sleeping. Which is right now, so I hope she stays that way for the rest of the stream. If I'm lucky. No. She's much better now. She does so much better. I've even been able to have her like lose 2 times or some shit. 3 times? 2 times. And she's doing amazingly. I'm very proud. I thought Castile wanted me to tell her it was okay to leave the others, but I could not be responsible for that decision and spoke without decorum. Benito had a broken wrist when he entered the dungeon, but he's tough. We shouldn't give up on them until we know for sure. Castile's face soured slightly, and she did not get the answer she wanted. She nodded, but then asked, "Where did you get the Apex Earth Essence?" My surprised expression made her smile slyly. "All-seeing eye." She explained how she knew. She must have been using the spell while pretending to sleep. It is a fight with the dungeon to use it past the current room, but I'm getting better with it. It was just luck I saw you consume it. I decided to tell her the truth. From the Earth Drake. Her eyebrows arched. I had confirmed what she already knew. I had Durandus's collector. The big one Maviet mentioned, she asked in disbelief. I nodded. Do not tell me more. We can talk after I am questioned in Tella by the truth seekers. Constantine stirred and stood, suspiciously eyeing us near the corridor, or maybe irritated that I had woken before him. He stood noisily, waking a few men. I will sit in the Shadow Bear room, he announced to Castile, and then set off down the corridor with his pack. Soon everyone was stirring, and it was Mateo's turn to cook. They had only harvested meat, mushrooms, and nuts. They had a little salt from a room with a salt water lake, but did not have enough wood to evaporate much water to claim the salt. We moved as a group to join Constantine. He was sitting in the corridor, whittling a stick. He looked at us. Still not time, maybe an hour or 2. Huddled in the corridor, our smelly group watched the room intently. The skinned shadow bear was barely visible. Blaze was the one who noticed the reset first. It's gone! Adrian started issuing orders. Stay away from the shadowy canopies, draw it to the perimeter, pair off and work together. Mavieth and I were left as a pair. Constantine entered with Firth at his side. A bear's roar sounded from the center of the chamber. I entered and moved right with Mavieth. The shadow bear appeared far to the left, emerging like a nightmare out of the shadows on the ground. It was an odd visual as it charged at Matteo and Willie. Matteo yelled angrily, "Oh shit, not again. I must taste good." He braced for the bear's charge with his dented and damaged shield. The twang of a bow sent an arrow into the bear's neck, halting its charge. Its paw swatted the arrow, snapping the shaft. The bear dove into a shadow, disappearing as if into a pool. Constantine moved forward. It will not be able to hide for long. Be ready. The shadow bear emerged on our side, and Maviet stepped toward its emerging form. His hammer swung down on the skull as it was partially out of the shadow. A loud crack resounded in the room, and the bear slid back into the shadow, disappearing. Everyone remained tense, ready for the bear to return. Constantine finally said, "I can see the reward chest. It must be dead. Search the trees for the corpse." We searched in groups of three, but the bear's corpse was nowhere among the trees. Adrian was upset about losing the bear meat. Castile thought the bear must have been trapped in the shadow and died from Maviet's strike. Adrian directed me. "Eric, you were responsible for organizing the harvest of wood and nuts. These were the same bitter nuts we had at breakfast. I sent 4 men to chop wood, and I joined Maviet in picking up the nuts on the ground. Or he would hit a tree with his hammer to get the nuts to fall." It was disappointing not to get any meat, but no one blamed Mavieth. Instead, they congratulated him on his impressive killing blow. When we had a moment alone, I asked Mavieth, "How are you doing?" "It is good to be back with the others, but I miss Relia," he said as softly as he could. I cautioned the Goliath. "Castile has a spying spell, Mavieth. Be careful what you say, even if you think you can't be overheard," I advised. He nodded in understanding. "I have not said anything, even though Constantine and Adrian have pressed me for details of her time in the dungeon," he replied quietly as he gathered nuts into a pile. "Oh." Castile expected me to track the company's food and supplies. I had forgotten that I was taking over for Del Mar. The next 3 hours we spent reviewing each man's pack as I inventoried what we had. The biggest problem was that the dungeon meat needed to be smoked or eaten. Or it would go bad in just 2 days. Oh. They did not have access to a dimensional space to preserve their meat, and many rooms did not have wood that burned well. As best I could project from what I counted, the group had 4 days' worth of food. It was not a balanced diet, but it was enough for plentiful meals. Each man was also now carrying a bundle of firewood from the Shadow Bear room. The reward chest had yielded only a few silver coins and a single lesser healing potion. I was now quite sure the dungeon had reduced the reward because there were 9 of us. Bye, puppy. Okay. You just have to be careful so since she was sick last night so she doesn't throw up. Okay. You can lay there, it's fine. 4 days food. I asked Castile this question. Do you think the dungeon reduced the reward? There were 9 of us when there should have not been more. Wait. Oh. No, okay. Oh. And I was like, I have to get her water. It's not. Okay. I asked Castile this question. Do you think the dungeon reduced the reward? There were 9 of us when there should not have been more than 4. Castile thought about it while cracking nuts. I do not know. This is not my first dungeon, but is much larger than any of which I have ever heard of. The largest dungeon I know of in the Italian Empire has 9 rooms total. Perhaps you are right. We can test your theory in the Weaver room. We spent half a day in the Shadow Bear room. Oh, she came back. And I learned how poorly off the company was. We had just 3 arrows left between Blaze and Constantine. Many buckles and straps on the armor were in bad shape. Half the men had holes in their socks and boots. Clothes were soiled and frayed. Bodies were filthy and unhygienic. Willie had a nasty cough and a minor infection on his leg. Earth had 2 broken fingers, but at least his arm had been healed with the potion. But not a single one of them complained. Another apple for everyone could not hurt, so I added it to the meal after the work was done and before we moved out. Constantine happily ate his apple and casually asked, How many more apples do you have? A few, but I was hoping to save them for Ginger rather than waste them on you lot, I retorted with good humor. Adrian let out a rare chuckle. Damn, Eric, you like your horse better than the men you fight alongside. Adrian had been with me when I found Ginger injured, and the horse trader was going to use her for breeding stock. Adrian had allowed me to bring her back to Sorbel and to have her healed. Ginger just appreciates me more than you all, I grunted dismissively. That got some laughs, and everyone professed that they appreciated me very much, as long as I had more apples. We moved on to the Weaver room. Constantine caught a glimpse of one of the black spiders. The room is set. Same plan? He looked at Castile. No, it will just be Eric, Maviath, Adrian, and myself. Eric thinks we will get better loot with fewer people. She nodded at me. You can draw them out. I was going to be bait again. Maviath was behind me as I moved into the room, my boots sticking as I stepped forward. A lance of fire shot over my head into one of the cocoons. I turned to see Castile holding a new ebony wand. Ooh. I set shields to hold a spray of webbing from reaching me or Maviath as Castile burned each cocoon. The spiders crashed to the stone floor as their webbing was destroyed. Adrian moved past me to attack the stunned spider. Maviath crushed the spider, and I killed my own, stabbing into its array of eyes. In less than a minute, the weavers were dispatched. Castile was smiling as she slid her fire wand back into her garments. She struggled to move across the floor to the chest. Maviath, she indicated the chest. He moved to Castile's side with sticky steps and tapped the chest, shattering the stone. Castile studied the contents. Definitely more silver, and a levitation potion. Last time we got a spider climb potion that we used to check the cocoons. Was there anything in them? I asked, looking up at the smoldering balls. No, Constance said from behind me. The others moved into the room, and it got very loud as they moved across the sticky floor. Firth swore as the sole of his boot came off. Oh damn. Are we going to harvest the spinnerets? I asked Castile. Castile was removing her collector from her pack. I could hear it scraping on the metal of the kettle of souls as she took it out. Oh, good. Adrian was almost to the opposite corridor. No, they need to be preserved. These spider legs need to be boiled too, and we do not have the water to do that. Castile hissed in disappointment as the first spider yielded nothing with the collector. I asked, do you want me to handle this while you were getting everyone settled into the safe room? Castile locked her eyes on mine and nodded, understanding in her gaze. Yes, Eric. Handle the spider harvest. We got 3 essences the first time though. Hopefully you have the same luck. Everyone else, let's get to the safe room. I pretended to have difficulty getting to the next spider to make sure everyone had left and was out of sight. I used my collector, and a minor coordination essence was formed. I then proceeded to get 3 more. I experimented with my dimensional space, cutting the chitin abdomen in half with a thin plane. It worked, and the organs oozed out of the bisected weaver. I dug out the spinneret and collected 2 more, giving me a total of 5 in my dimensional storage. I washed my hands off the evidence and joined the others. It looked like it was Constance's turn to cook. I handed Castile's collector back to her, along with the 3 of 4 coordination essences. She smiled as she took the collector. Firth, Constance, and Willie, these are yours. Morale was high with the ease of the last 2 fights and essences. As everyone settled into the room, Castile, Adrian, and I talked in the corridor. How are we getting past the sand scarabs? Adrian inquired. I will go with Eric and Mavis and assess the situation, Castile decided. You are in charge of the men until we return. Adrian did not look happy. Bring a 4th man, Constantine or Firth. Castile shook her head. The 3 of us are fine. Have Constantine scout the raptor room and get everyone fed and rested. We are close to reuniting with our companions. Mavis and I walked with Castile to the sand room. When we reached it, she looked at me expectantly. I need to know what you can do, Eric. I looked at Mavis, then stepped out onto the sand. The dust devils moved toward me. I waited until they got close and targeted one of them. A puff of sand and the swirling sand above the scarabs dissipated, and I stepped back into the corridor before the others could reach me. Castile looked from me to the sand a few times, processing it. Mavis was watching to make sure the scarabs did not attack. Did you put the entire scarab in your dimensional space? Castile asked in disbelief. Do not answer that. Can you and Mavis clear the room by yourselves? Fuck yeah. Only if I drink my other restoration potion. Otherwise, I have to wait about 40 minutes each time, I revealed. Castile's jaw dropped, her eyes wide. You have other potions, as in plural. He does. We have a lot of shit. Oh, I love being like open with stuff. I love this. Please continue. Chapter 174. Good cooks are hard to find. Castile was staring at me, her jaw practically unhinged. I asked innocently, are ether potions good? Castile found her voice. Dungeon ether potions are almost impossible to get. Ether potions brewed by alchemists start to lose their efficiency immediately, and most alchemists lack the ether to infuse them properly. Yes, they're good, she rasped vehemently. I pulled out the potion from beneath my armor and handed it to her. Her eyes widened even further, if that was even possible. You do realize this is a greater ether potion, Eric? Once again I asked, is that good? With mock innocence. Is that good? She spat incredulously. I feel like this is the first time that she's been like, what the fuck? You know, like, this is a greater ether potion that could restore my ether 4 times over. Yeah, when I tried one, I felt a lot of the ether bleed off into the environment, I said casually. Based on her reaction, these potions were obviously a sort of holy grail for mages. You drank one of these. Wasted it. A sip could have restored all your ether. She reached for the potion like I was not deserving of it, and I let her take it. She turned it over in her hand, as if trying to determine if it was real. I shrugged. Well, I needed to know how it worked. How many of these do you have? Hunger was evident in her eyes. Which dungeon room did you find them in? Is it close? No, it is not close. It was a fire bear room deep below, on the 3rd floor, I admitted. Castile regained her composure, her childlike excitement fading. She started to hand back the potion, but I declined. Keep it. You can make better use of it than me. I had another anyway, and the gift should endear Castile to me a little, or a lot, just like the essences did for her and the company. Castile relaxed slightly. She held up the potion and explained slowly. Once the seal on a dungeon potion is broken, the air will degrade it. Use a little and seal it quickly again. It should last at least a few hours. She looked at me considering. Or if you store it right away in your dimensional space, it shouldn't lose any of its efficiency. She made me feel foolish for not realizing I did not need to drink the entire potion. You need to be careful when using these. It restores your ether, but does not increase your ether resistance. Channel too much ether too quickly, and you will burn out your channels. Maybe it watched the entire exchange and brought our attention back to the dungeon room. Are we not fighting the sand scarabs? Oh. Castile focused on me again and looked at the spot where the scarab dust devil had disappeared. The scarabs? She wanted an answer. I didn't put an entire scarab in my dimensional space, I said vaguely. I was trying to give her an out from lying to the truth seekers if they asked her about this. Castile seemed to understand my piecemeal information. She looked at the sand where the scarab had been. A small crater of sand remained. I could tell she was trying to puzzle it out. She finally said, "Impossible." She had not directed it at me, but simply spoke to the sand. Castile was still deep in thought when footfalls behind us announced Adrian's approach. He came and stood with us, looking into the sandscape room. "Did you come up with a plan to draw out the scarabs?" he asked while watching the mini tornadoes with us. I waited for Castile to answer him. Eric and Mavid have some interesting ideas. It should not require anyone else in the company. Get the men ready to clear the raptor room. I will join you in a moment. Adrian looked at all three of us in turn. He did not say anything before nodding to Castile, turning on his heel and returning to the group. Once he was gone, Castile spoke. "It will take us 3 hours to take down the 3 raptors in the room. We will be gathering water from a stream there, but the raptors have very little meat." "You want us to remain here, to figure out a way to handle the scarabs?" I asked rhetorically. Castile nodded and moved to follow Adrian's path. She slipped the ether potion inside her garment as she left us. We watched her go, and maybe its deep voice rumbled quietly. "She was stunned, Eric." "Yeah, now that we are back with the group, I can't keep it from her. I don't think she's going to be able to shield me from the others for long. Constantine is clearly curious how we managed to wander the dungeon by ourselves, as is Adrian." I sighed heavily as I watched the swirling sand move in the room. We were quiet for a while. I was relieved that most of the company was well, and that the Kettle of Souls was close. We both watched the sand because the scarabs could leave the room at any time since I had already killed one of their numbers. A few times, the swirling sand got close, but never breached the corridor. I stood as soon as I had enough ether to use my dimensional space again. I waited while the nearest scarab dashed toward me, and I killed it at 10 feet. I quickly stepped off the sand and onto the stone of the corridor. The other 3 scarabs rushed to the scene and passed their dead comrade. This time, we did not have to wait to kill a 3rd scarab, as all 3 left the protection of the sand to attack us in the corridor. The dog-sized, 6-legged beetles rushed us, 2 abreast. Maybe it crushed the first one while I fenced with the second. The beetle was using its mandibles to prevent my black blade from scoring a piercing strike. The 3rd beetle was crawling over Mavia's foe while I struggled with mine. "Deal with the 3rd one," I barked at Mavia. My opponent matched my reach, and I did not want to overextend myself between its mandibles. Mavia had superior reach, and I was soon splattered with clear fluid as Mavia's hammer descended on the 3rd beetle. It was not long before Mavia's hammer also finished off my stubborn opponent. Thank you, I needed it. I looked at Maviet, who did not have any splatter on him. I had thick, clear mucus all over my armor. "I just got all the webbing off, and now I am slimed," I complained, wiping away the goo. The first time we fought the scarabs, I got through unscathed. At least the fluid was odorless. Maviet could not help but chuckle at my overreaction. "Go dig the 2 scarabs out of the sand. We need to stage the area." I growled without malice at the Goliath. "Stage?" Maviet questioned. We're going to make it look like we tricked the scarabs out of the sand to kill them. Maybe it nodded in understanding and set up the task. I kept an eye on the corridor while the Goliath worked. I waited until my Ether recovered to pull the collector to my hand. With my eye on the corridor, I first used the collector on the scarab that gave me the most trouble. A major earth essence formed. The other 3 scarabs yielded minor earth essences, with the scarabs freed from the sand. I had Maviath crush them with his hammer near the corridor. His ferocious attacks concealed the fist-sized holes through their exoskeletons. Maviath surveyed their work. It looks like I killed all these scarabs, Eric. That was true, as his hammer had crushed each of them. He was also eyeing the stone chest in the center of the room. We'll leave the chest for when the others get here. That way they won't think we took anything, and tell them you smashed all the scarabs, Maviath. This chamber was hotter than the others, and we were both sweating profusely. I was also covered in sand. As the clear scarab blood dried on my armor, it became embedded with sand. I looked ridiculous. Maviath agreed, but after half an hour he asked, should we go check on them? No. Castile gave us 3 hours to get the scarabs. They should be here soon. We would just wait. We had some apple slices with appleberry jam. Cute. Then we will just wait and have a little picnic. Half an hour later, Constantine arrived first. He grunted from the corridor, announcing his presence as he inspected the scarabs in the corridor and then the 2 remaining sand scarabs in the room. He walked over to Maviath and me, lounging by the unopened stone chest. He looked down at us. How did you get the scarabs to come out of the sand? I squinted at him, as this room was brighter than most. I lured them out. They could not reach me if I stood on my air shield. Maviath smashed them with his hammer. Maviath said nothing, but showed Constantine his hammer, backing up my story. Constantine considered my statement, probably assessing its legitimacy, before nodding. Smart, was all he said, before landing in the sand next to us and taking an apple. Willie and Firth were next into the room, commenting on the size of the scarabs between them. Firth noticed the stone chest first. Why didn't you crack this open? He sauntered up to us, doing the honors. Huh? He voiced loudly, causing me to twist and look. Among the typical silver was a black stone goblet. Oh. The last time we got a spellbook, and I had assumed it would be something similar this time. Firth picked up the silver coins and the goblet. Castile and the others arrived, impressed with the room already being cleared. Firth announced as if he had cleared the room himself. Found a black cup in the chest. What do you think it is? He yelled it out to Castile. Castile arched her eyebrow at Maviath and me before taking the cup. She turned it over in her hands. No visible runic script. She studied it for a moment while the company circled around her. I believe it is made from a single piece of black jade. Goblet artifacts typically transmute liquid placed in them. Well, let's try it out, Firth said eagerly. Maybe it gives us some quality ale. Castile looked over at me. Maviath and Eric cleared the room. It is theirs to do with as they please. As long as the dukes do not find out he has it, Constantine announced to the company. It was for our benefit to make sure they kept the secret. Castile handed me the goblet. It was quite heavy and shaped like a large wine cup. Firth held out his water skin and began pouring water into it, uninvited. It overflowed and splashed on me. I channeled ether into the cup, and it greedily took my offering. It took more ether than I needed to open my dimensional space to activate. Firth was leaning over me, sniffing loudly, and studying the liquid in the cup. How can you smell anything when you smell that bad? I pulled the cup away from the noisy legionnaire. It was hard to tell if the liquid in the chalice had changed color since it was black. I sniffed it myself. The water had definitely turned into an alcoholic beverage. Not beer or wine, though. I tipped the goblet, spilling the contents into the sand. It was an amber liquid. Don't waste it! Firth moved to stop me. Leave it, Firth, Castile barked. It could be poisoned. Eric, it is best not to sample it until a scroll of revelation is used on it. She nodded at me, and I made the empty black chalice vanish. Still bent over, Firth picked up the wet sand and inhaled deeply. That is whiskey, or I'm a goblin sire. Constantine looked over. I've seen the women at some of the brothels you frequent, Firth. That statement might just ring true. Ah, if only this dungeon had a brothel room. Then I could be content spending the rest of my days here, Firth said in jest. Some of the men chuckled at the back and forth, and Castile took out her collector and went to work on the scarabs, but she didn't get a single essence. Adrian lamented the lack of luck. Those were elemental creatures. Would have had a chance at an affinity essence. Next time, get Castile as soon as all the creatures are killed. Castile rallied everyone. Come on, the work in this room is already done. Our companions are close. The group of us were soon moving down the corridor toward the harpy room. The deadwood trees and coffee berry trees were similar as Adrian, Castile, and I stood at the entrance to the room. The two hidden harpies hopped from branch to branch upon noticing us, their perfect chests bobbing. Their perfect chests. That's crazy. Oh, my leg. Ugh. Adrian muttered, "We should just stick Firth on them. They'd run away." His uncharacteristic attempt at humor fell flat. Castile ordered the men behind us. "Two harpies. Block your ears with what you have. This should not be too difficult. It will disable their rings." I will disable their rings. Oh. I was like, will it disable their rings if you block your ears? What? The company started going through their packs, shoving bits of cloth, nuts, and other objects in their ears to mute the harpy's song. It wasn't long before we were ready. Castile stepped into the room first. Wisps of black smoke unfurled from her extended hands. Harpies did not even get close before Castile entangled their wings, and they crashed to the ground. Constantine was the first to reach one of the harpies, and Adrian and Firth reached the second. A few well-placed strikes, and it was over. Willie tried one of the coffee berries on the trees and spat in disgust. "I hate this ogre's ass of a dungeon. Berries should not taste like this." "Taste this bad." I just made up a sentence. "Don't jinx us," Blaze said, picking one of the berries himself. "It's a kava berry. Kava. Don't eat the skin or the seed. Just eat the flesh." He demonstrated this by squeezing the berry to shoot out the seed. He then consumed the flesh and discarded the skin. Not bad. The seeds are used to make a drink called kava from the south. "Do you know how to prepare the beans?" I asked as I moved to try the berry's flesh myself. It tasted like a mix of sherry and watermelon. Extremely refreshing. What? No, my father had a small shop in Brapo. He traded in cheap exotic goods. I've seen these before. I know the seeds need to be roasted for kava, but I'm not familiar with the process. Blaze was picking and eating the fruit, and soon the entire company was. Castile moved to the harpy and produced her collector. She eyed me briefly before using it and getting a minor charm affinity. The second harpy yielded the same. Firth had once again taken the opportunity to shatter the reward chest by the pool. "There are fish in this pond," he noted as he excitedly dug through the coins. "Just some silver in the chest." I thought that was odd, since there had always been something in addition to the coins in the chests. If Firth had taken something, no one noticed. I moved to the pond myself and was glad to see the dungeon had cleaned it since my last dip. Firth was already removing his armor. I think he was more focused on the fish than taking an actual bath. He might actually have success catching them since they had to bob to the surface to breathe. Matteo was stripping his armor to join him. From across the room, Lurkin exclaimed joyously, "Are you all having a party without us?" Everyone went silent and turned to see the cook standing by himself. He probably came to check on the harpy room for his group. Matteo, already swimming in the pool, laughed. "You're only invited if you do the cooking." Lurkin! Finally, I like Lurkin. I like many of them. The ones that I can remember. Chapter 175. Gangs all here. Lurkin entered the room, all smiles, to talk with Castile. He looked malnourished, but his eyes were filled with the joy of seeing us. I joined them to learn how they had connected with Flavius and the others. Castile immediately asked, "Who is with you?" "There's a safe room down the corridor." He pointed behind him. "Flavius, Brutus, Dante, Benito, Linus, Colm, and the scholar are there." The men moved into crowd Lurkin, even the naked Matteo and Firth, who had not bothered to dress. Blaze interrupted and asked earnestly, "What about Pavel and Lucian?" The joy left Lurkin's face. "I don't think they made it. I know they didn't make it. Oi." Adrian moved to stand in front of Lurkin, grabbing his pauldron firmly. "What happened?" he demanded softly. Lurkin collapsed a bit, overwhelmed by the memory. "A few days ago, maybe 4. It's hard to tell time in this cursed dungeon. I was resting in the safe room where we arrived from the tavern with Lucian, Benito, and Pavel." He took a deep breath. We didn't leave a watch and were all sleeping. Constantine rebuked him harshly from nearby. Why not? Lurkin defended himself aggressively. Every day was the same. After weeks, we just assumed we were safe. His anger fell, and he softly added, we got complacent. Castile calmed everyone with a look and then encouraged Lurkin to continue. Tell us how it happened, Lurkin. A troll. A crusty-ass, shit-brown troll. If it hadn't been so loud storming down the corridor, we would have all been killed right there. Benito, even with his arm broken and useless, confronted it. He gave us time to inform our defense, but took a nasty slash to his face. Lurkin paused, recalling the nightmarish incident. We formed up, protecting Benito with the dungeon exit behind us. We hoped to trick the troll into the portal, but an ice drake emerged from the corridor, and an elven wizard was just behind the drake. What? Someone hailed sharply at the confirmation the summoner had joined us in the dungeon. That's crazy. It was a summoner then. He has an ice drake under his control. I have seen it, Castile confirmed calmly to everyone. Lurkin nodded at Castile. We figured fighting the specters was better than fighting the troll and the ice drake. We were going to enter the dungeon again together right after exiting, but the troll followed us through the portal. Everyone was silent as Lurkin continued his retelling. There were a lot of specters on the other side, and frozen body parts of legionnaires. The troll pushed us back from the gate, and Benito tried to hold off the specters with his good arm, but could barely stand. He sighed as he replayed the final part of his tale. Lucian said he would distract the troll away from the portal, so we could get back through together. Pavel joined him without being ordered, telling me to drag Benito back in. Pavel got 2 arrows into the troll, and it charged him and Lucian. I saw specters swarming Pavel, and the troll tackled Lucian to the ground near the collapsed tavern. That was the last I saw of them before I got Benito back into the dungeon. Fortunately, we arrived in a safe room, close to Flavius and the others. Ooh. There was a dead silence as we all absorbed the mental weight of more losses to the company. Adrian broke the somber mood. Let's reunite with the others. We can mourn our fallen comrades together. Make use of the pool first, Castile said numbly. Everyone bathe. 2 legionnaires at both corridor entrances. Lurkin, Constantine, and Adrian, go bring the others here. It was not long before the pool was filled with men splashing each other like children while trying to catch the bobbing fish. Adrian returned with the others. The scholar and Colm were supporting Benito. His cheek and neck had a filthy bandage with dried blood. Linus had a splintered leg, but was walking under his own power. It looked like Dante had recovered from the spider's poison. The groups mingled, and smiles and laughter were all around, pushing the reality of our lost companions to the back of our minds. When I got close to Benito, he smelled like death and ammonia. He was still smiling, even though he was obviously close to Pluto's realm. I patted Benito on the back. It looks like a troll got a hold of you and took your maidenhood. Benito's eyes were a bit glassy as he replied. I gave just as good as I got, Eric. You wouldn't happen to have any wine left to numb the pain a bit? He asked hopefully. I pretended to think about it. I do have a bottle left, but I thought you might want this instead. I held up one of the greater healing potions I had left. His eyes had trouble focusing on it, and I do not think he understood. Castile snapped at him. Drink it if you want to live, boy. That's a greater dungeon healing potion. Ah, you don't happen to have another for me? Linus asked jokingly. Maybe it moved to retrieve one of his potions, but I gave him a look, and he stopped. I retrieved the lesser healing potion I had gotten from Raelia's bags and offered it to Linus, who was flummoxed, I've never seen that word, as I handed it to him. He rasped out. It should work as long as the bone is aligned closely. How many healing potions do you have? Matteo intruded on the gift-giving, thankfully clothed this time. He pretended to pat me down. I knew revealing the potions had risks, but neither Benito nor Linus would be able to flee with us once we left the dungeon. I pushed away the hands to Matteo. Just one left now. I prefer to save it for a real emergency if you don't mind. I watched as Benito got help from Scholar Fabian to drink the healing potion. A loud pop had Benito wince as his forearm bones aligned properly. He started coughing up yellow phlegm and tearing off his crusty bandages, next as he seated himself on the ground. He soon lay spread eagle, breathing deeply, as it was the first time in a long while he'd been able to do so. Benito's skin was filthy with sweat, dirt, and recently flaked scabs. The first words out of his mouth were, "I am famished. What's for dinner?" A tingly feeling of satisfaction went through me. I missed Linus taking the other potion, but he had also removed his splint and was practically skipping around the coffee berry trees. For some reason, I channeled my inner Delmar. Okay, now that everyone is mobile, I need a full accounting of the provisions. I want 4 men picking berries and 4 men fishing. Everyone looked at me strangely for a moment before Castile backed me up. You heard Eric. Everything needs to be harvested before the dungeon reclaims the room. And I want everyone to bathe. I am sick of my eyes watering from your stench when I try to sleep. She let out a slight smirk and winked at the men before returning to her usual demeanor. As the men paired off and started to work, I did not like that Constantine and Flavius moved off to guard one of the corridors at Adrian's orders. Adrian began making the rounds to check on the men, and I joined him. Adrian had always been more interested in morale than Delmar had, but I was not Delmar, and I wanted to know how everyone was doing. We still had a number of injuries among the men. Firth had broken fingers. Dante was weak from the after effects of the poison. Benito still had a fever, even though his body was healed. And Calm had bruised ribs. But Willie's leg infection was at least clearing up. I gave Benito one of the 2 cure disease potions I had purchased at the Adventurers Guild in Tella. That immediately normalized his temperature and apparently healed his mouth, as Benito suddenly could not stop talking. What are you doing? I'm looking for toys. We can soon go out. She's on the loose, and that's when she's scary. She hasn't like pissed inside for like 1.5, 2 weeks now, so that's good, but I'm like, oh. You never know. Okay. Clearing up. Fixes tongue, saving his life. Soon after, we abandoned the Harpy room and made the walk to the safe room Flavius and his group had been using. Everyone smelled mightily better, and we were mostly in good spirits. I stood, listening to Flavius report to Castile, once the group had settled in the familiar-style safe room. The dungeon exit loomed nearby, enticing us with its offer of freedom. She begged. The lump in Castile's backpack was the key to that freedom. It might have been just me, but Flavius's eyes kept roaming to me while he talked. There is a large earth drake room down the other corridor from the Harpy room, but I assume Eric has already told you that. He has, Castile said firmly. What is this way? She indicated the only other exit from the safe room. Wolf spiders in the first room. They are just large, hairy bastards, but their venom lingers for days. Beyond that room are giant centipedes. They have a paralyzing toxin, but there are only 4 of them. Beyond that is the safe room where we arrived. Neither of the rooms offered a decent food source. We had been killing the harpies every 2 or 3 days for the fish. We did not know the berries were edible. Linus tried them whole and ended up vomiting an hour later. Flavius waited while Castile considered the information. And what is beyond that safe room? Castile questioned. Flavius held up his hands to draw a map in the air. 2 other corridors. One goes this way to a ferocious owlbear with glowing red eyes. He shifted his hands. The other goes this way for a long distance to a water-filled room with giant snapping turtles. We considered trying that room, as the turtles might have been too slow to pursue us in the corridor. I decided against it, thinking there might be other threats in the murky water that could follow us. This dungeon is a bloody menagerie, Adrian spat. I don't think it is worth exploring those rooms, Castile decided. We will rest for a day and then make our exit. To where? Flavius inquired. Castile looked a little irritated at the question. We will try to return to the Undercity and back to the library to avoid the concentration of specters in the city. From there, we can clear the snow to the gates and get outside the aura of the city, Castile explained. What about the elven summoner? Flavius pressed. He made a mistake, following us into the dungeon and dismissing his elementals. Without his constant control of the weather, I am guessing the snow is now passable. Flavius was not as certain. We cannot be sure of that. Castile's patience ran out. Enough, Flavius. You and Blaze can watch the wolf spider room for the approach of the summoner. Do not engage if you see him or his creatures. Just retreat here to report so we can prepare. Adrian added stiffly. Be aware. He has been using goblins as scouts as well. Flavius nodded curtly and turned away from our group. Once he was far away, Adrian spoke to Castile and me. He's been leading the men for weeks and has become bolder. Clearly, he has won over Brutus and is working on Constantine. Do you think he will be a problem? Castile asked. Adrian hesitated a little. Maybe. Constantine told me he was asking about how Eric and Mavis reconnected with us. Adrian had an amused look on his face. It made me look to Castile and back to Adrian. Castile had obviously shared something with him. I should have realized it when he was no longer suspicious of me. Shit. I hope this would not bite me later. Castile watched Blaze and Flavius move down the corridor. Blaze will let us know if he's up to anything. She turned to me. I understand that she tells Adrian stuff. Because she was like, remember who you can trust. Adrian is one of those. We trust Adrian, you know. But I'm like, bitch, I'm supposed to trust you as well. Then you can at least trust me back. So you can at least tell me, I'm going to tell Adrian. Or like, you can at least say, like, I have told Adrian. Not just like randomly fucking no. I don't like that. Like, at least tell me, please, Castile. She turned to me. Do you and Maviet want to scout the Harpy or Earthdrake room? We will be leaving the dungeon when you return. I was puzzled for just a moment. I was pretty sure she was asking if I wanted to harvest more essence. I considered the offer. I had dozens of essences in my dimensional space, but magic affinities were rare. Charm or earth essence? We can watch for the summoner in the Earthdrake corridor, I finally said. Castile nodded approvingly. A short while later, as I was getting ready to leave, Brutus offered to join us. Thankfully, Lurkin suddenly needed help preparing meals, so Adrian volunteered Brutus to help. Mavis and I walked back down the corridor to the Earthdrake room. We stood at the entrance to the chamber. The familiar draconic beast stirred and thundered a challenging roar at us, like it remembered that I was responsible for its past deaths. Mavis grunted. I don't think it likes you very much. I looked down the long corridor behind us and then back at the drake. It's going to like me a lot less in a few seconds. Oh, we made it. We managed. Me and Pupper survived the last 5 chapters. Whew. Very happy about that. So they're gonna kill the drake, get more earth essences, and then they're supposed to leave? That's what I'm getting. Then they're going back to the library, shoveling snow, and then just fuck off. Well, that's not gonna fucking happen. Like, there's no way that they're like, oh, the summoner is stuck forever in the dungeon. Like, he will come out at some point, or they will meet him on their way out, or something. There's no way that he's just gonna be like, yo. Like, they have to meet him. Right? They have to. And hopefully they will next time. Hopefully. Not like I want anyone to die, but like, you know. Oh, I'm happy I made it. Hey. Puppy survived. Puppy didn't piss. Puppy didn't vomit. Very good, puppy. Happy to be back to streaming. I know, like, this wasn't long. It hasn't even been 2 hours yet. But it's like, I don't know how much I can push her this early on. But, so today we will just read. And tomorrow maybe we'll play some. I have also thought of playing some more with my brother from here on out. So I don't know how exactly I'll do it. I think we will just speak Swedish. Not gonna lie, but I will of course answer English and stuff with chat. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but I was like, I would like to try. Maybe even tomorrow I'll talk with him first and see what we're feeling, you know? This is very good, very good. A lot of new stuff already, but yeah, I want to see if I can get my brother on stream basically. We've done it once before, way back. No one probably remembers, but we did it once. But yeah. Okay, I'm happy it went well. Happy it went well. Puppy survived. Puppy. Yeah. Hey, Willow. Yeah. Oh, she's so cute. Do you not understand how often I hear when I walk outside, oh my god, is that a baby husky? Oh my god, is that a husky? And every time I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a husky. I know it looks like a husky. It's not a husky. Oh. She's very scared of people and anything. She has a lot of fear in her. Poor little baby. Oh, it's hard. So like when everyone was like, oh my god, can I pet her? I'm like, sure, but she's not gonna like it. Like you can attempt. If I hold her it works, but if she's on the ground there's no way. I'm trying to train her, but it's hard. And since I can't speak German too well, it's also hard to ask them like and explain like this is the situation. But yeah, most people can tell as well. They're just like, oh, she's so scared. I'm like, yeah, she is. Oh. Yeah. You made it. Your first stream. You managed. Yeah. Oi. Oi. What's this position? Huh? What are you doing? What is this? Oh, what's this? She's looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? Oi. Oh my god, Shane, let's go. It has happened once before. Wait, yeah, we will stop. We will stop. I promise. Yeah. She just sits like, can we leave now? I'm like, yes, we will leave. You do not get to do it thrice. That's too much, man. That's too much. Wait, what? No, it has. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I forgot the tag also did it. Oh my god, how could I? Okay, but yeah, I will fix it onto the Discord after the stream. But now I have to end the stream because Puppy needs to leave. Like, big stretch. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. She did a big stretch. Okay. Yeah, as I said, tomorrow maybe we'll do something, maybe Swedish and English, who knows? I can speak both. He can as well, but it's so fucking awkward if you just speak English to each other. You know, you understand. You get it. Otherwise, maybe we'll play something tomorrow anyway. See how that works. Now we do Wabas. Thank you so much for joining the first stream of 2026. New changes already. We have Willow emotes, the cutest. We have Willow Cam, the cutest, with additional socks. And we'll see what we will do tomorrow. Yeah, hopefully she will feel better as well, so I can stream a little bit longer. It all depends, but she's also just a teeny tiny baby, so her bladder is very small. She's doing better. She's doing very well. For more Willow content, Instagram is the place. I have been posting. If you missed it, please. What are you doing? Go look at it. She's adorable. More will come. But thank you so much for joining. Have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Hey do! Bye bye! Happy to be back! Oh, quick stupid. Bye bye!